What is up, Packers Nation? Welcome in to our very first live post-training camp recap, Q&A, gut reactions, whatever the hell you want to call it. I don't even care. I am so fired up. I'm so excited that football is back. It was unbelievable to be out at 1265 today, of course, on Ray Nitschke Field as well. Great seeing the fans, great seeing Brian Gutekunst do his presser, Matt do his presser, and then, of course, just Packers football out on the field as well. I will get to questions and comments eventually. If you want to make sure you get your question answered, definitely get those super chats in. I'm going to kind of go through my immediate reactions to everything first, and then once we kind of get through that, I'll try to get through some questions before we kind of get out of here. But thank you for being here. What an exciting time of year. Football is back. We actually have real legitimate stuff to talk about. So enough of me blabbering. Let's get into it right away. We had a handful of players who were not practicing. We'll get to that first. Quay Walker, who is being labeled with an ankle injury. Apparently he did have a ankle cleanup sort of surgery this offseason. He is not practicing. Christian Watson, we know, with the knee. Colin Oliver has a hamstring injury. Amar Johnson with a hamstring injury. John Williams has a back injury. And allegedly, Elgton Jenkins has a back injury as well. One update to the injured list that we now know is Micah Robinson, who had a knee injury. He was activated. He was actually out there practicing. So I think that was probably a last minute thing because the update from PR was that he was out with a knee injury. But I did get a video of him out there practicing, in fact. So Micah Robinson back from injury, which is huge for him. Before we get into practice takeaways and things like that, of course, we had Goody and Matt talk first. One of the things I asked Goody to try to finally get an understanding of why they would eat the Jair Alexander dead cap hit this year rather than just letting it play out because it's all apples to apples anyway. Or as Brian Gutekunst said, it's a horse apiece. They didn't actually have a explanation as to why, other than they had the money to do it now. They wanted money to do it next year. But with carryover cap, they would have had it anyway. So I don't know. There's still no explanation. It still doesn't make a ton of sense, but they did it. They usually don't do anything for no reason whatsoever. Maybe there is some little small thing that Russ Ball found in the small print somewhere. I'm guessing that they have some reason to do it, but Goody did not give me any more detail as to why that would be advantageous for Green Bay. We did find out that of the injuries, the two ones that are more on the serious side, of course, Christian Watson, which we knew, and then John Williams is going to be out for a bit with a back injury. So that does not sound like something that's going to resolve itself anytime soon, which sucks for a 7th-round pick who's trying to make the team and get out there. This is like, Grant Dubose when he was a 7th-round pick, Lou Nichols when he was a 7th-round pick, where they just couldn't get healthy to stay out there. Now, the one example where it went okay, where it happened, was Rasheed Walker, who missed basically all of camp up until the final preseason game. He went out there for the final preseason game as a 7th-round pick, absolutely tore it up and earned his spot that way. Maybe John Williams can get out there for one of those final preseason games or the last week and prove himself, but it certainly puts him behind the 8 ball. But Watson and John Williams, the two worth monitoring. Colin Oliver is going to be a few weeks away. Hopefully, again, that he can get reacclimated quick once he gets back, but that's a tough one as well because he's going to make the team for you would expect at least. It'd be pretty surprising if all of a sudden he didn't, even make the team whatsoever. But he's probably going to miss those first couple preseason games. Maybe he can get back for that third one, if he misses a few weeks here. So we'll definitely keep an eye on that one as well. I did ask Goody if Quay was a contract situation, and he was adamant that it was not. And he did kind of take a moment to choose his words, but he did apparently have that ankle cleanup surgery, said that he'd be back in about a week, and did go out and say that this was not anything to do with a contract. It's worth noting, as we talk about this, and we talk about Elgton in a moment as well, that part of a GM's job description is to lie. It just has to happen from time to time. So maybe he's not being totally transparent. Maybe he is. But it sounds like Quay is an ankle injury and should be back in about a week. Elgton, the interesting thing here is that Goody was asked straight out, hey, once, because it's a back injury for Elgton Jenkins. I will say some of the, stretches and stuff that were done to the side by Elgton, not sure you would do some of the stuff he was doing if he had a legitimate back injury, but who am I to say, or what do I know? He did say that once the back injury is clear, that Elgton Jenkins has given them the indication that he's going to practice. Now, take that for what it's worth, right? This still seems contract-ish related, I would assume, but maybe it's just a legitimate back injury that's nothing long-term, and he's out there sooner rather than later. We'll kind of take a look at that again as time goes on and just kind of monitor it. My guess is it's contract, but per Goody, as soon as that back injury clears up, he's going to be good to go. But that back injury may be, a back injury. All right, let's see what else. Bo Melton. Go to Packers.com, check the roster, officially a corner. So this is no longer a wide receiver that is dabbling at corner. This is now a full-fledged position change for Bo Melton. He is going from offense to defense. He now has corner listed next to his name. He has gone from number 80 to number 16, and he is out there playing corner. And I know Ken Ingles tweeted out, he said, all right, so somebody that's making a position change and is sharing a number with another player, usually not a great sign. I would agree. These position changes have not gone well. We saw, a variety of different players, whether it be, James Looney try to go to tight end, whether it be Alex Magoo try to go to wide receiver. We saw Jonathan Garvin try to go to defensive tackle. We've seen a variety of these types of position changes. None of them have ended particularly well. Bronson Kafusi, there's been others as well, and they haven't gone well. Nobody's really stepped up and made the team. And if you're pointing to Sam Shields, just remember Shields went from wide receiver to corner his last year of college. So that was not a transition that Shields actually made with the Packers. And yeah, usually sharing a number, not always ideal. But what I will say is that Bo definitely feels like he has a legitimate opportunity here for a couple different reasons. Number one, he's already practicing with the ones and with the top group on the defensive backside. So, again, top group over here, kind of backup group over there. He's out there practicing with the top group. It could mean nothing. It could mean something, but it does seem like they're legitimately giving him a real chance to go out and earn that spot. And I'll say it again. I said it in minicamp. Like he looks the part. It doesn't look foreign to him at all. So that's an interesting one. Wearing number 16 now, fully playing defense. They did say like they already know what he can do on offense, but it would almost seem more that instead of being a wide receiver that can be an emergency corner, that they're flipping that he now will need to make it as a corner that could also serve as an emergency wide receiver if they needed him to do that. So the more you can do, the better, but he is now officially a corner, and this is not a wide receiver corner thing at the moment. Again, he is officially a defensive player. Christian Watson, that is, will not practice in training camp per Brian Gutekunst. That will not happen. They will, I'm sure, ramp him up through the course of time. He looked good, doing some jogging around out there, but outside of that, this is going to be something that certainly lingers into the season. At least it would seem that way. And per Brian Gutekunst, if he's not going to practice at all during camp, he's just not going to be ready for week one, which is, by the way, completely expected. There was no indicator that he was going to be ready that early, but they've said he's a freak. They said that today, and he is ahead of schedule still. So it sounds like everything's going well for Christian, but he will not practice at any point during the course of training camp. As far as your starters go, there's a walkthrough starting group right at the beginning. It was almost the same. There was a couple wide receivers or at least one wide receiver that I didn't catch exactly, but when we got to the actual team drills, your starters on offense were Jordan Love, Josh Jacobs, Tucker Kraft, Romeo Doubs, Jaden Reed, and Dontavian Wicks, Rasheed Walker, Aaron Banks, Sean Ryan at center, Jordan Morgan at right guard, and Zach Tom at right tackle. Interesting that they made that switch kind of, because in minicamp it was Jacob Monk at center, and then it was, Sean Ryan at right guard, and then Morgan kind of rotated in. That was a change. And I kind of wondered that as we went through our preview yesterday as to whether or not that would be Sean Ryan that would be at center, or if it would be Jacob Monk. My initial thought yesterday, or for today's show, was, hey, if they think this Elton thing might be longer, I could see Sean Ryan being center. Now, it doesn't necessarily indicate that Elton's going to be gone for any period of time, but I'm not super shocked that Sean Ryan's at that spot. It kind of opens up things for Jordan Morgan to get more time and Sean Ryan to get more time. My guess is they're not going to have any real issue moving Sean Ryan back to right guard if they need to do that, or when they need to do that. Meanwhile, Jordan Morgan gets legit first team reps, and Sean Ryan gets those reps at center, where if something were to happen to Elton through the course of the season, or this thing takes a turn, they have that as an option as well. So not surprised by that update. Interesting, as we went through the day, some other players that got opportunities. Jacob Monk got opportunity at center. That's not surprising with the ones. Jordan Morgan got time at left tackle, which is not surprising with the ones. The one that was interesting, Travis Glover got time with the ones on the offensive line. That was a bit of a surprise at left guard. Now, there's no competition there. Aaron Banks is not competing with Travis Glover, but it's interesting that Glover is getting some of those reps again down with the ones. They could have put some other players there. Anthony Belton. They could have put Kadeem Telfort. They certainly could have put a Donovan Jennings, but it was Travis Glover that got those opportunities. So interesting there. On the defensive side of the ball, it was consistent, both in the walkthroughs and the beginning of team periods. And then when they put their ones out there again later, this was your starting group. LVN and Rashawn Gary at defensive ends, Devontae Wyatt and Kenny Clark at defensive tackle, Cooper and McDuffie at linebacker. Remember, Quay is out with the injury. Nixon and Hobbs at outside corner. So Hobbs at outside corner. No Valentine at outside corner, with Bullard in the slot and McKinney and Williams at safety. This felt like throughout the course of the day, they're what I would consider base or default defense. And if you've heard me talk about this at all through the course of the offseason, this was my expectation and my expectation moving forward. So what I expect is you are going to see Bullard in the slot with Hobbs and Nixon on the outside, Williams and McKinney, and sort of their base nickel. So if you're thinking of like a former base defense being more of like a 4-3, and they'll still run some 4-3 from time to time as well. We know now that nickel is basically the base defense, but I think in earlier downs, in more run sort of downs, and when it's not an obvious passing situation, this will be their nickel. It'll be Bullard in the slot, Hobbs and Nixon on the outside, with McKinney and Williams at safety. But I very much believe we're going to see an obvious passing down or third and long nickel as well. We saw a little bit of this today with Valentine and Nixon on the outside, then with Hobbs in the slot, still with Williams and McKinney back at safety. So I think that's what you're going to see. That's basically what we saw today. So if you're wondering why Bullard, not Valentine, I expect that they want that bigger, more physical player in the slot on some of those earlier downs where it's more likely to be a run or a short pass. And then in the obvious passing downs, get Bullard off the field where he's a little bit more, I don't even know if I want to say liability. I think the concerns about Bullard are overblown, but he's just not as good of a pure cover guy at corner as a true corner is, right? In this case, getting Valentine on the field, moving Hobbs in the slot makes all the sense in the world. So that's my expectation moving forward. It was my expectation going in today. That's what we saw today. And I really don't think there's going to be a change there unless something crazy happens, somebody steps up in a ridiculous way, or there's some sort of injury throughout the course of the offseason. It was great to see MarShawn Lloyd back there practicing. He had a really nice run where he was going up and then realized there wasn't anything there, bounced it to the outside, probably got like a 20-yard run on the play. He just brings a different juice to the table at the running back position, a little bit more playmaking, a little bit more speed. And it's just always fun to watch him run. And I will say this as well. There were a couple, I was standing next to Marcus Eversole and Paul Brettel, and just, a couple comments from all three of us of he there's no tackling. They're not even really thudding at this point, but he runs behind his pads well. So like, even when like players are kind of like batting at him, trying to get the ball out or whatever, he's just always behind his pads. And you can tell that's going to serve him well as we get into more of the padded practices and then eventually into actually tackle football. Right. So he looked good, and it was just great to see him back out there. And Xavier McKinney picking up right where he left off, one of the plays of the day, coming up with a interception attempt from Jordan Love to Dontavian Wicks in the back of the end zone. McKinney undercut it, got up, got the interception, came down with it, of course, got mobbed by the defense. So he's picking up right where he left off. Again, just phenomenal football player. Love watching him practice, love watching him play. I didn't get a great view of it from Jordan's standpoint. Obviously, we're on the sideline to see what he saw or what he thought he could get in there. I thought overall Jordan had a solid day. Nothing otherworldly, nothing bad. He had a great pass to Josh Jacobs. There was like a spinner series action play where they got Jacobs one-on-one down the field. I forget who was in initial coverage, but Jacobs beat that player pretty easily. And then Nate Hobbs did a great job of coming off of the player that he was guarding and kind of spinning back to try to go make a play on it. And he definitely affected the play. The ball was perfectly thrown to Josh Jacobs in the end zone. That to me was one that Jacobs should have come down with. I know a couple other of the beat guys wrote that it was a pass breakup. Hobbs deserves credit. Don't get me wrong. I would just say I bet Jacobs would tell you that he probably should have had that one. Hit him in the hands, got to come down with it. But it was a really good play from Nate Hobbs as well, and a beautiful throw from Jordan Love on that play. Had a couple other touchdowns in red zone to Romeo Doubs, completed his first couple passes to Tucker Kraft. So I thought Love looked good. The one interception withstanding, of course. But again, that's going to happen. You really want your quarterbacks to test their limits in practice. That's what it's for. Nobody's, grading out these players or, trying to make any sweeping conclusions or anything like that. You're not trying to win the Super Bowl on any given pass. You're practicing. You're trying to get better, seeing what you can do, what you can't do. That's all part of the process. And again, without seeing the all 22 of it, can't speak to whether or not it was a good idea, bad idea, good throw, bad throw. All I know is that McKinney made a great read on it, jumped it, picked off the pass, and just came up with another big time Xavier McKinney play. I mentioned when it happened that one of my favorite parts of the offseason that I was so glad for, that I was overjoyed, was when Brandon McManus re-signed, just because I was not ready for another kicking competition. I was looking at, I don't even remember his name now. I was like Sean Turner or something was the kicker at the beginning of last year. I was looking because I was, when I did today's show, I wanted to look up how long to expect for today's practice, right? So I saw Rob Demovsky tweeted out, it was 1 hour and 27 minutes last year. And in that tweet, it was like, and then at the bottom of it, was like, Sean Tucker was blank for blank on field goals for the day. Like, and again, his name might not even be Sean Tucker. I don't even remember. But I'm like, oh my God, I totally forgot about that. I'm so happy that we're not going through these random kicker competitions that were just so brutal. Brandon McManus, long story short, Brandon McManus, 6 for 6 on the day. No crazy long ones or anything like that, but just great to see him out there going 6 for 6 and not having to worry of like, well, Anders Carlson was 3 for 6 on the day, and some other random kicker that just got picked up was, 2 for 4, and just brutal. But Brandon McManus making it so that we don't have to go through that here in 2025. Dobbs and Nixon had a fun little battle. So in red zone, it was Dobbs versus Nixon on a red zone fade. Love definitely overthrew it just a little bit, but Nixon had picture perfect coverage on Romeo Dobbs on the outside. And then a little bit later in red zone, Dobbs made a great move on a quick slant on Nixon, and Love threw a perfect ball to get it down where Dobbs could go get it and, not take any hit or not, be in harm's way at all. Obviously, there wouldn't have been a hit in practice, but in a game, it would have been exactly where you would have wanted it placed. And Dobbs went down, got it, and scored the touchdown on the play. So 1 for Nixon, 1 for Dobbs, as they, I'm sure, will have many other matchups throughout the course of training camp. Similar with Isaiah Simmons and Josh Jacobs. So on one play, they ran a screen out to Josh Jacobs, and Isaiah Simmons was there like that. He was all over it. I thought it was like a loss of yards on the play. I saw somebody tweet out that maybe it was like a 2-yard gain. Doesn't really matter. We're not keeping box score stats for this anyway, but Simmons was there immediately to shut down a running back screen to Josh Jacobs. Later in red zone, Love did a great job of buying time in the pocket, trying to avoid pressure, and Josh Jacobs was coming open over the middle, and Love threw it. It was a little bit high, and Jacobs went up sky to get it. This is the highest I've seen Josh Jacobs jump for sure. He went up and got it. And you could tell Isaiah Simmons after was like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do here. I had great coverage. It was a high throw. Jacobs went up and got it, ended up being a touchdown. So 1 point for Simmons, covering him in the flat and getting the big, no gain-ish for Jacobs on the screen. But then Jacobs got him back on the sky and touchdown reception in red zone periods. Thought Malik Willis had a nice day in red zone. He threaded a couple touchdown throws, including one to Matthew Golden, who beat Carrington Valentine on a play. Super sweet little slant route, which was awesome. And then he had another touchdown. I don't know if his was the one to Chris Brooks off the top of my head on the Texas route. Brooks had a nice touchdown on that. I think it was from Willis, but either way, I thought Willis had a pretty good day as well. So those are kind of my key takeaways from today's practice. We'll get into questions here in just a moment. The other thing that did come out is there was potentially the jersey leak of what these new, throwback jerseys look like. First glance, I think they look absolutely amazing. I retweeted it. Easton Butler tweeted them out. Looks like they got leaked over on Dick's Sporting Goods, but it's a classic navy blue jersey, 3 gold stripes on the arms. The gold is just looks unbelievable with the backdrop of the navy blue. There's no circle on it, so it's just a number with just on the blue jersey. I think it's the sickest throwback that I've ever seen for Green Bay. I'm not a jersey guy. Even just looking at this Love one, I'm like, I kind of want that. It looks unbelievable. So I love it. And usually when you get the navy throwbacks, they put out a bunch of really awesome navy clothes as well to go with it. So I am beyond pumped for what these throwbacks look like. We'll see what the helmet looks like, to kind of go with it, but and what the rest of the jersey looks like, or I guess uniform looks like. But the jersey looks absolutely sick in my opinion. All right. Let's get to our star chats. First, got Francois. I like that. Wasn't there a Francois at linebacker for the Packers? Why is that's going to bother me now? Robert Francois, number 49. He's 40 years old now. Crazy. Time flies. Yeah. So Robert Francois. Any relation to Robert Francois, Scott? I don't know, but either way, appreciate you signing up to become a member. William, can't wait to go to my first training camp. Are you doing any meetups during camp? Not during camp itself. Very first preseason game. So Saturday, August 9th, I will be doing a live show and meetup, a live Q&A and pregame show at Hagemeister Park before the first preseason game. So that will be from 4 to 6 p.m. on Saturday, August 9th at Hagemeister Park. So not during camp or like a training camp practice itself, but we'll be doing that prior to the first preseason game. We'll still allow you plenty of time to get over to the game afterward if you want to. But yeah, 4 to 6 p.m. on that first preseason game over at Hagemeister Park. All right, let's get to some super chat or just questions, I should say here. Dawn puts it perfectly and just squee. Love that. Turtles says, go Pack, go. Golden is him. Andy, are you buying the Elgton Jenkins back injury? And do you think Gut actually thinks it's legit? Whether like Gut would know one way or the other, right? So Gut is not being fooled. I'll put it that way. Whether Gut's telling us the truth or not, I don't know, probably not. I'm not totally buying it. He did say that once the back injury clears up, that Elton's good to go, that there's no other concern there. I'll believe it when I see it. But for now, a back injury, I'm not totally buying it. I think it's probably contract related, but we'll take it a day at a time and see when Elton gets out there. The moment we've all been waiting for. It's a hamstring injury for Colin Oliver. Curious to hear what you thought of the corners day one. I thought Nixon on the outside looked good. Hobbs is going to be a really good player. I really truly believe that. Just watching him in coverage, I really think he actually looks good as an outside corner. So I'm excited about that. But he looked the part. And then again, remember, they're just going to be playing a lot of zone defense. And I think these corners actually fit very well in those concepts. So I didn't have any major concerns on day one. I think they're going to fit in just fine. And Nate Hobbs very much looks the part through mini camp and day one of training camp so far. King Kermit, no doubt about it. Super Bowl for sure. Just happy football is back. Me too, Douglas. The almighty supreme one. I don't know about those throwback leaks. I hope the helmet is the airbrush one, though. I think that would look cool. I love the leaks. Absolutely love them. Chris does as well. The throwback unis are going to be fire. Glad we don't have to worry about a kicker anymore. 6 for 6 on the day. Yep, we talked about that. So is Melton just done at wide receiver? In OTAs, he seemed like a corner who would be in addition to wide receiver, but Goody today made it sound like he's going to be focusing on corner now instead of wide receiver. Correct. He is on the roster as a corner, not a wide receiver. This is no longer a wide receiver that is dabbling at corner. This is a true corner that in an emergency situation might be able to move to wide receiver, move back to wide receiver, but he is getting the full look at corner moving forward. Over under when we see Watson, seems like week 8 seems like a very reasonable hope. Yeah, I think midway through the season, I would say weeks 6 through 12. I know that's a wide range, but I would probably put it somewhere in that range with weeks 8 to 10 probably being the most likely. Melton looked good. No major plays, no breakups, no getting beat that I can remember either. And yes, let's take it one step at a time from him actually getting snaps, but he is with the ones. Let me start over here. So when I say somebody's with the ones, okay, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, there are two sides of the field, and you've got one group working down with the primary group and another field working down with the secondary group. So it's not actually ones and twos because there's like 45 players playing with the ones and 45 players playing with the twos. 40 to 45 players is like more than, almost your full 53, right? So that's not just your ones, but that's sort of your primary group. There's players playing with the twos that are going to make the 53 as well. That they're like, no questions about it. So it's not exact, but Bo was with the primary group on the defensive side of the ball, sort of with the second unit in the primary group, if you can kind of think of it that way. I do believe that they are giving him every opportunity to kind of earn that spot and to play corner. And here's the thing, and I was going to mention this earlier as well, like corner's wide open. After your top three in, Hobbs, Nixon, and Valentine, and of course we know Bullard's going to play some in the slot as well. But after that, it's Micah Robinson, Kamal Haddon, Kalen King. I mean, Bo Melton has every right to get in that conversation as well, as does anybody else with the cornerback, designation next to their name. That there's no guarantee or lock for Kamal Haddon or Kalen King, Micah Robinson, or any other corner on that team. There are three. And then after that, there is a corner 4 and 5 for sure. And maybe even a corner 6 that can make the team. So if I'm Bo Melton, I'm absolutely thinking that I have every right in the world to go out and earn that opportunity. And I will say this, the path to corner 4 is a million times easier than the path to wide receiver 4. Even if it's a new position for him or he's learning it for the first time in a long time, the pathway to corner 4 is workable. The pathway to wide receiver 4 is near impossible with the depth that they have at that spot. So I think this is probably the right move for Bo Melton. And I do think he's going to get a legitimate look at that spot. Micah Robinson, Gary, is their 7th round corner. Come on. I get like, you may not know like a Gregory Jr. or an Isaiah Dunn. You might not know a Jonathan Baldwin. You might not know an Isaiah Buggs. You might not know, Cornelius Johnson. You got to know the draft picks, Gary. Come on. He was his 7th round pick this year. The draft was in Green Bay. So that Gary, if you're going to come to Pack-A-Day, if you're going to come here, you got to know your draft picks, my man. So 7th round pick this year, Micah Robinson at corner. Justice Mosqueda, good to see you, my friend. Where were you the day Bo Melton made the 53? Well, he's done it before twice, Justice. He's been on the 53 as a corner, though. That's a new one. We'll see if he can do it this year as well. Like I said, I think he has a legitimate chance. Goot said he was doing mostly cornerback because they already know what he is as a wide receiver. Yeah, I do think there's a piece of that, of course, right? They know what he can be as a wide receiver. They don't really need the extra depth there. They've got a billion guys at wide receiver. So yes, I think they're giving him a true legitimate opportunity to learn corner and see what he can do there. Yeah, I'll just put it that way. I will actually put it this way, and you might be speaking tongue in cheek. McRae, love throwing picks in camp is not a bad thing. I actually want my quarterbacks throwing some interceptions and taking some chances and testing the limits of their abilities in practice. I actually think that that's a very good thing. If you remember, one of my bold takes with Perry and Grant was I said, Jordan Love's probably going to throw a decent amount of interceptions in camp and it will not matter at all. Said it's not the worst thing in the world. See, horrible. What were we talking about? I think easily these are the best uniforms that I have. I legitimately love these uniforms. But as I've said before, and I think really the overarching take on these is don't change the green and the white ones. Like they're perfect as is. But if you want to go out and do 2 alternatives or throwbacks and do whatever you want to do for those, go have fun. Sell some jerseys in the pro shop. Good for the fund, the Packers fund to pay signing bonuses and things like that. Go do what you need to do for, those couple games. I'm not going to get too upset whether I love them or hate them. But just as long as you're keeping the 2 primary jerseys, the home and away, the way that they are and not messing with those, I'm totally fine with whatever you want to do for those couple other games. Thoughts on LVN's upside? I feel like with high drafted athletic freak types, you at least want the odd wow play. Last one I can think of was his first game catching Fields in the backfield. Yeah, I don't think anyone is going to point to anything LVN's done so far and be like, see, there it is. He is a star in the making. And I think that's been part of the disappointment. Now we know he dealt with the hand and thumb injury this past year. Maybe that was a piece of it. The upside is there. There's no question about it. I tell you all the time, I've got a scouting book that tells you like the ideal player type for each type of position. And when you basically type in the definition of what you want an NFL defensive end to be, I mean, Lucas Van Ness fits that pretty damn well to a T, especially for, those teams that are looking for bigger body defensive ends that can collapse pockets. not maybe some of those speedy bendy types. He's got everything that he needs to be successful. It's technique work. It's developing a pass rush, sort of move set. And it's just finding, creative ways to get to the quarterback and make his impact felt. He has not been able to do that so far. The hope is that he can do that this upcoming season, but we need to see it. And I know for me personally, I'm definitely more taking I'll believe it when I see it approach, but also wholeheartedly not giving up on LVN. There's a ton of talent there. Trey Hendrickson's a great example of a player kind of like LVN that took a few years to ramp up. It probably took him 4 or 5 years to ramp up. Hopefully that's not the case with LVN, but you never quite know when defensive ends are going to click. And sometimes it just takes one move, one go-to move that all of a sudden they start beating offensive tackles with. And then that unlocks everything else, like a skeleton key. You get that one move, and then once you start getting some success with that and teams get the book on you, they try shutting it down, then you develop a counter off of that, and it just kind of builds from there. So hopefully that's what takes place with LVN. Very interested to see what Bo can do at corner full time. Me too, Landon. Did Golden and Savion seem dialed in assignment-wise? Golden had a couple rookie moments, I'll just say that, but also had the great touchdown catch. Savion didn't have like a obvious, like, oh, he didn't do the right thing or anything like that. But you definitely felt a little bit of like, there's a couple different things that can happen with rookies. One is that you get that one, you can just have mental errors, right? Which we may have seen a couple with Matthew Golden today. The second is that you can be like just wide-eyed. We saw that kind of with Tucker Kraft very early on as a rookie of just like, you can tell, that just everything is moving so fast, right? And then the other one is that you can tell they are almost going in slow motion because they're thinking. And instead of just going out and playing football, they're trying to, remember and choreograph the things that they're supposed to be doing, of the motions and the checks and the exact, length and distance and cutoff points of the routes and all of that stuff. So with Savion, I felt like you could see just the gears turning a little bit, and you couldn't see freaky Savion Williams because the game is nowhere near slowing down for him yet. So that's how I would kind of define it, but great touchdown play for Matthew Golden. And I don't think Savion had anything noteworthy that I can remember. Maybe somebody else caught something, but yeah, you could definitely see a couple of those rookie moments out there. Could Tom play left tackle? Sure, but there's no reason to do it. Or is Rashid better than him at the position? Seems odd to have the best offensive tackle not on the left side. I just don't believe that anymore, not in today's NFL. You have TJ Watt playing left defensive end. I think you have Aiden Hutchinson playing left defensive end. You have some of the absolute best pass rushers in the entire NFL playing left end. To me, that is a 1992 mindset of left tackle versus right tackle. And you might say, well, what about the blind side? There's a small piece of that still, but for a quarterback, you're so much in shotgun now. You have much better peripheral vision to be able to see what's happening all in front of you. It's not so much, there is some under center, of course, but a lot of the under center stuff is either play action, which is going to be maybe some of those longer developing plays, and guys aren't usually teeing off in those situations. So no, to me, it's first of all foolhardy to say left tackle is more important than right tackle anymore. And it's why you're seeing guard contracts and center contracts go up as well, because offensive line is a weak, a weak link position. If you've got one weak link anywhere, they're going to expose it. And take Zadarius Smith when he was a Packer. Find their weak link and put Zadarius Smith over whoever the weak link was. Other teams have that ability to do that as well, and they're going to take advantage of it. So you need to have good players at all five. And then the second thing is that why would you risk that Zach Tom would have to learn a different position and that he might not be as good, or it might just take him, 6 months to learn a new spot or feel as comfortable? Why would you do that when right tackle is a massively important position and he's playing awesome at it? There's no way I would risk that. Especially because Rashid's more of a natural left tackle. Jordan Morgan's more of a natural left tackle. Your other players, and Melton can play left or right. So there's no need at the moment to move Zach Tom. And I think it would be completely unnecessary and probably just the complete wrong move at this point. Now, as I was talking to, maybe it was, I forget if it was Justice or who I was talking to, if like all of a sudden, like, let's just take Anthony Belton, right? If Anthony Belton ends up being only a right tackle, and I don't think that's going to be the case, but if that were to be the case, like Anthony Belton's only a right tackle and he just looks awesome. Like every time he's in at right tackle, he looks like an absolute stud. Like you've got a, Pro Bowl right tackle in the waiting in Anthony Melton. All right, well, now let's have a conversation. Now let's see where we can move Zach Tom so we can get Melton out at right tackle because Tom does have that versatility. But barring something like that, keep Tom where he is and don't mess with a good thing because Zach Tom at right tackle is a very good thing. Elgton definitely not injured to the point he shouldn't be practicing. Probably not. But I am a sucker that definitely, takes people at their word sometimes. So I guess I'll sort of take Goody at his word, but I definitely feel like the contract's playing a role here as well. Matt, what up to you as well? Doing well here. Let's see. A lot of top rushers now rush from the offenses right. Exactly, Joseph. We're on the same page there. Congrats to Bo. All right, where do we leave off here? So happy for Bo. He can do it. Corner concerns are solved. He looked good at corner. Matt has the utmost of faith. He isn't going to practice in training camp. It's because he's going to be ready for week 1. I'm assuming we're talking Elgton there, maybe. Mark your Watson calendar for a year from the injury date. I think it'll be before that. Maybe you're right, but I don't think it's going to go into December. I really don't. I think it'll be a little bit before that. Hey, Andy, it's the first day of camp already over. It is. It goes by fast. All this stuff goes by fast, but good to see you, Tulio. I am very excited as well. Let's see. Hey, Andy, Indiana fan watching. All right. Well, thanks for coming, Carrie. Appreciate that. Probably most excited for Lloyd this season. Cross fingers, no injuries. That would be nice. No drops for Wicks that I can recall. Again, I would put one on Jacobs. I know Savion Williams had one in, against Air. There was no corner on him. It looked like he dropped one. I saw Jaden Reed doing push-ups during individuals, so I'm assuming he dropped one, but I did not see that. There were a couple drops out there, though. Jersey Leak looks great. Who stood out? Xavier McKinney had a pick. McManus went 6 for 6. I thought Malik Willis had a really nice day. Those were definitely some of the ones that stood out at today's practice. Can't stop on my way to work. Just stopping to say, hey, say here, awesome day and go Pack Go. Ice Cold Gaming, thanks for stopping by. Unileak, you can find it on my social media on Twitter at Andy Herman NFL. I just retweeted Easton Butler, who had it. It was out on Dick's Sporting Goods is I think where people found it. I like the Jersey Leak. If it's accurate, probably going to be one of my favorite throwbacks alternates. I'm right there with you, Douglas. Where can it be viewed? Yep, over on social media. Imagine taking time out of your day to join a Packers chat. Have fun with that, I guess. Thanks for being here. Thanks for helping the algorithm, if nothing else. Yes, Twitter and Packers Reddit. No, Braden Narveson was one, but there was another kicker as well. When will the interviews come out? If you're talking player interviews, I'm sure Schneidman and Domovsky and some of those guys will be tweeting that stuff out sooner rather than later. Ryan Wood, etc. Malik Willis looks so much better than Love today. Imagine that. Incorrect. False. He had a couple nice plays in red zone. Jordan Love had those same ones as well. Willis was definitely not better than Jordan Love today. Golden looked like a rookie. Up and downs. Really nice route against Carrington Valentine for a touchdown, but had a couple of those rookie moments as well. Let's see. Also, good point. Willis was going against the twos. If you were told that a player from the bottom 10 of yours or Bill's rankings made the team, what position would you think? Let's see where I have my bottom 10. Who are on my bottom 10 on my chart? All right, where the heck did I put this? Okay, so I had Alex Hale, Keith Randolph, Johnny Lumpkin, Isaiah Dunn, Brant Banks, Sam Brown Jr., JJ Lippy, Cameron Young, who's no longer on the team, Kazir Brown, Trey Hill, and I guess that would be 10. So Trey Hill would be my cutoff. I think there'd be one of two things that would happen if one of those 10 made it. The first would be that Isaiah Dunn made it at corner. Again, 4, 5, 6 with this corner group, totally up for grabs. So if Isaiah Dunn made it, sure. Like the difference between an Isaiah Dunn and like a Kalen King is probably pretty minuscule overall. So I would say probably Isaiah Dunn just made it. The other would be like either Brant Banks or JJ Lippy just had an unbelievable training camp as an offensive lineman, and they keep 10 and maybe one of them sneaks in as the 10th offensive lineman. Might need a couple injuries to hit there as well because there's some depth there. But if one of them just looks incredible, they could maybe sneak on as the 10th offensive lineman. So I would say the most likely would be Isaiah Dunn and then maybe a Lippy or Brant Banks, but I would not expect any of them to actually make it. Let's see. Pack is back. Cheers from Berlin. Thanks for joining, Ingo. I'm assuming you mean you saw Josh last week. The guy looks like a bodybuilder. Yeah, Josh Jacobs is an absolute stud. The jersey is Andy approved, so it's got to be good. Not sure about that, but I'll take the compliment. If we trade Elton, is it Sean's job this season? I think that probably is the way that they would start. Yes. If you said Elton is not on the roster for week 1 for whatever reason, my guess is that Sean Ryan would be the starting center week 1. There's also Ricky Jean Francois as well. Yeah, a couple Francois. And you might be in the minority there with the jersey. The online reaction has been pretty negative. I don't get it. I think it looks clean as hell. I'm totally confused by the hate. But as I mentioned online, I have the fashion sense of about a 87-year-old nun who is blind. So, take that for what it's worth. Bit late, but evening for me, Andy, watching from start. So we'll be quiet after this. All right, fair enough, Izzy. Thanks for being on, Andy. It's been a day. Home ownership can suck. It very much can. We had this week we got home from vacation. We spent Thursday through Sunday in the Dells last week. We got home on Sunday and there were 8 dead bees in our house. So like, oh, that's not great. So we eventually found out that they're coming in through the fireplace. And then we looked outside and there's this vent that there were bees just all over and flying in. There's a huge bee's nest inside this vent. So I tried just doing all like the spray stuff to get, it didn't work. So had to pay somebody $200+ to come out, and he had to do the whole bee suit and get, take this thing apart, go inside the house. But then he couldn't take the nest out. He could only kill everything off because the nest was in too deep. So now you have to have somebody else paid to come out to actually get the nest out of it and do like the ductwork. Ugh, it's just, I totally feel you, Dean. So not to go too far in that direction, but it definitely can suck from time to time. First padded practice is 7:29. Practices before that are patty cake. Again, it just, what do you want to take from it? If you're taking a lot from offensive line and defensive line prior to the pads coming on, not a great, not what you want to take from it, right? But if you're looking at who played where, some of the, battles between corners and wide receivers on the outside, some of those sort of things, and, those certainly matter a little bit more, which is why we didn't go a lot about offensive line or defensive line in our breakdown so far today. So there's always things to glean, right? There's always things to learn. And even if it is like patty cake, like it's still, there's still noteworthy things happening. And for a fan base that is starved for football almost all off season long, any little inkling of anything that we can get is appetizing at the moment. Will Jenkins hold out be an issue with the team being game ready the first 2 games of the season? Your 2 cents, Carrie, it just depends on when he comes back. I said yesterday, anything after or anything before like August 20th, like I'd almost give it like a month. I think they'll be fine. Once you start getting to about August 20th, if he's still not there, not practicing, I think it's a real detriment to the team. So if he can have those last, 2.5, 3 weeks to ramp up and get ready, no harm, no foul. I'm not concerned about it. If it's longer than that, I do have some level of concern. There's a Francois in the Pink Panther movies. Good for that. So Jenkins is saying his back hurts now. Yes, it's probably more contract related, but they're going with back injury. The AI simulator needs to be recalibrated now that Melton is on D. Yeah, you're right. We'll have to do it all over. New episode coming next week. Hello, Andy from Guayaquil, Ecuador, South America. Follow you for the 4th year straight. Awesome content. Well, thank you for following from Ecuador. Always love those type of stories. So I would love to hear your story, Carlos, and how you became a Packers fan. But thanks so much for being here. Really appreciate that. Did you see the Savion catch that Twitter was talking about one-handed? How did he look? I did not see that. That's awesome. Not sure if that was against air or if that was in team drill. So again, remember a lot of times what can happen is there's those 2 sides of the field, right? And myself and pretty much everyone else that is covering the team is going to be watching the primary group. Savion was down with the second group. So if he made some sort of sick catch, the 2s, I'm sure the fans that were down on that side saw it, but it might be why you didn't hear anything about it from a media standpoint. Tulio's chiming in from Brazil. Any of the rookies stand out? Nothing too crazy. Again, Golden had the nice touchdown, but definitely had a couple of rookie moments. Apparently, Savion Williams had a crazy one-handed catch, so I'll take that as well. Okay, it was Love to Brooks on the Texas route. Thanks for that, Chad. I thought Musgrave had one play where again, as I talked about in minicamp and OTAs, it feels like the game has slowed down for him. And now you're starting to see that raw natural talent take over a little bit more. I think it was just like a crossing play, and then he caught it and was able to accelerate through the catch and just get down the field a little bit more. So you're just seeing that speed. You're not seeing the stumbles. You're not seeing the, sort of uncoordinated looks from time to time. He just looks a lot more clean, a lot more relaxed. And I think you're going to see, again, that raw natural talent come out a little bit more. Sean Ryan was the primary center today. Jacob Monk did get some time there as well. We talked about Golden already. Let's see. Come on, Gary. Gary failed. Come on, Gary. Wasn't Micah Robinson announced by Tom Grassi? That might have been the one. You might be right. Chuck Norris. Are you the one that had the stupid take about Malik Willis? That would make sense if it was. Yeah, that's what it was. All right, cool. Chuck, yeah, keep it up, buddy. You're just full of hot takes. Yeah, everyone's excited for more fake Chuck Norris takes. All right, we can just get rid of good old Chucky here. See you later, Chucky. All right, let's see. Where do we leave off here? All right, it's training camp. No need to sweat about the interception. The greats have thrown a lot of interceptions during training camp. Well said. FTW Farms, hit that like button. Appreciate you, FTW Farms. If Melton makes the 53 at corner, do they carry one less wide receiver on the 53? I think that would give them the option to do that, but I think that would resolve itself on its own accord. Meaning, if they would just let that sixth wide receiver, if you will, basically come down to Malik Heath or McCole Hardman. And if they wanted to use, like if Hardman or Heath were good enough for the 53 spot, they would just keep the 6 receivers, then probably use Melton as like the pseudo number 7 in an emergency situation, right? But if they felt like, hey, we don't really want to use that 53rd spot on McCole Hardman or Malik Heath, maybe Hardman doesn't do much in camp, although he did have a nice touchdown today. Maybe Malik Heath, they feel like they can get back on the practice squad. It would give them the ability to go with those 5 wide receivers, the primary 4, Wicks, Reed, Dobbs, Golden, and then Savion Williams, with Melton being able to help out as the 6, and also knowing that Watson's going to come back at some point. So it would give them the ability to do that, but I think they would still, clearly allow Hardman and Heath and any of the other wide receivers to compete. And if they were good enough or Hardman became the top punt returner, they could still easily make it as that number 6 wide receiver. They probably see it more justifiable to keep Melton on the roster as a corner than a wide receiver, especially since he's a very good gunner and we need corner depth. Makes sense that Melton is switching. I think that's well said, Chad. It's staying in the same system is what LVN needs. I would disagree with that. In fact, we saw a lot today of some of the edge rushers standing up more. We saw Brenton Cox standing up. We saw LVN standing up. We've heard from Jeff Hafley in the past, if an edge rusher is better standing up or better with their hand in the dirt, they're going to let them, in most situations, either stand up or play with their hand in the dirt. So I don't think the system for LVN has been an issue. I don't think the hand in the dirt, not hand in the dirt or anything like that. I just think, and here's the thing too, right? Like if you're an enough player at that spot, pressure is pressure, whether you're lined up on a guard, a center, a defensive end. If you know how to beat offensive linemen, you know how to beat offensive linemen. It's not rocket science, whether you're standing up or hand in the dirt. It's not rocket science, whether you're inside or on the outside. You've got to be able to beat the person across from you. And quite frankly, LVN just needs to do a little bit better job of that this upcoming season. Let's see. Max Melton also wears number 16. All right. I did not realize Max Melton was 16. That's really cool. How many linemen were snapping the ball today, practicing what could be interpreted as center? I don't know who was with the 2s. My guess is Trey Hill was definitely doing that. We know Sean Ryan and Jacob Monk were doing some as well. I think Donovan Jennings has worked a little bit there also. So I didn't see, again, who was center with the 2s, but I can tell you for sure Jacob Monk and Sean Ryan were with the 1s, and we know Trey Hill can play center as well. LVN just needs to play more. 7 sacks and 14 tackles for loss as a third stringer isn't bad. Again, this is what I've been stressing all along here is there's a difference between, LVN has not lived up to the first round pick and is maybe not a starting defensive end, and LVN sucks, cut him, get him off the team. The first part is probably accurate. He has not been good enough to just be an unquestioned starter and to be given that spot. He hasn't lived up to the draft pick. I think all those things are fair to say. but he's very much a solid rotational defensive end who every team could use and is only, I think, still going to continue to get better. So he's worthy of being on the team. He's worthy of getting snaps. You want him in there as a rotational defensive end, but now can he take a step above and beyond that, be an impact player, and then maybe eventually live up to that first round billing as well? No noticeable observations with Cooper today. Nothing that stood out to me. Certainly nothing concerning. Again, when these things happen, you had today about an hour's worth of practice, which I think we probably had maybe 20 minutes of team activities today. Because the first, a good chunk of it was just stretching. And then there was some special team stuff as well. A lot of individual work. So again, we probably got 15 to 20 minutes maybe of teamwork in totality. And then during that, you're trying to keep an eye on 80 different guys, right? So you're not going to see everything, but nothing noteworthy from Cooper today. Rookies are still learning. I do think Golden and Williams will contribute to this team. I'm right there with you, Jay. All right. Is Hackett back in the fold? Yes. Sorry. Thank you. I forgot about that as well. Nathaniel Hackett is working with the team as a consultant. He is back in Green Bay, and he is doing like the Robert Saleh thing, except he is working on the offensive side, he's an offensive coach that's working with the defensive coaches. So what they like to do is usually have a defensive coach that works on the offensive side, basically like almost looking at what Matt in the offense is doing from a defensive coordinator's point of view of how that defensive coach would go about attacking that specific offense, what weaknesses and those sort of things to give to Matt LaFleur and look at it from that viewpoint. Same thing with Hackett. Hackett will be looking for ways that he would have attacked Jeff Hafley's defense from an offensive coordinator's point of view to give him that feedback. Where are the weaknesses? Where can I run plays against you that I think are going to be successful? And then he can relay that to Jeff Hafley so that he knows some of the things that he needs to clean up and get fixed and those sort of things. So I love that philosophy. I love that theory. And Hackett will be, working with Jeff Hafley in that regard. Thank you, Green Ranger. Hit that like button. Good question. I'd say you're right on. Yes, one less wide receiver. I'd vote for 7 wide receivers. That's still a lot of wide receivers, Carrie. Belton did not flash, but I did see him make a couple plays. That tackle, again, offensive line play with no pads is not really worth watching too much, but I definitely felt like when I saw him a couple plays at tackle that he very much looked the part, looked physical. So excited about Belton. We'll see what he can do when the pads come on. Tom owned TJ Watt. Yeah, he did. He did not do quite as well against Aiden Hutchinson, but listen, Aiden Hutchinson is a really tough opponent. Speaking of under center, do you think we go back to more under center like the first year with Jordan Love? Yes, very much so. We even saw that today. We saw Love be much more mobile, more bootlegs, more play action. It's definitely something that they clearly want to get back to this year. Hey, this is cool. Thanks, Fishy Things. Appreciate that. He's not overpaid if you look at the cap hits. I'm not sure who we're talking about there. I watch your show all the time. First time I've ever seen you live. Well, Fishy, welcome, and thanks so much for being here. Do you think there's a world Monk wins the starting center and Elton plays right guard? I do not think there is a world in which that exists. I think there's just other better options. I think their primary 6 are going to be your likely 5 starters and then Jordan Morgan to see where he fits in. And even today, like basically Sean Ryan kind of started taking those opening center looks over Jacob Monk as well. So no, if Elton's not starting at center, I would expect Sean Ryan to be starting at center, quite frankly. He's going to kick down Marvin Harrison while his brother gets torched by Golden. We'll see. We'll see. Favre throw 6 picks a game. That Rams playoff game still stings me. That's for sure. I don't know if you're talking to me, but I watch practice obviously from the sidelines with the credential and the press pass. If Wicks learns how to catch this, could be history repeating Devontae Adams style. One of the things that's interesting about you mentioning Devontae Adams, there are 3 players that are uncanny lookalikes for former Packers. Sam Brown Jr. wearing 17 with the dreads in the back looks eerily like not the play type. I'm not saying he's going to be Devontae Adams, but wearing the number 17 with the dreads, wide receiver, looks remarkably like early Devontae Adams look like. Like you have to do like a double take and be like, is that? No, it's not Devontae. It's Sam Brown Jr. Gregory Jr. wearing number 38 with the kind of the dreads coming down is a remarkable spot on Tramon Williams. It's literally like they're cosplaying. It is insane. And then Nazir Stackhouse wearing number 93, again, kind of dreads coming down, looks unbelievably like TJ Slayton. Like there are real true TJ Slayton, Devontae Adams, and Tramon Williams doppelgangers out there, and it is uncanny. So that's kind of a funny aside, but if Wicks can catch and have a huge year, I don't know if I'm going to get quite to Devontae, but he certainly can be a really talented player for this team. They did not play any Black Sabbath or Ozzy that I caught during the course of practice. Love's first year was better than any Bears quarterback in history. It's probably true. Let's see. Last year's throwbacks are probably my favorite. I was not a huge fan. I'm interested to see what the whole uniform looks like this year, but that the jersey looks absolutely awesome. Family night, first timer. What's the best time to be at the stadium? Stuff to do beforehand. I have never actually attended family night other than in the press box, so I'm probably the wrong person to ask that of. I don't think you need to really get there early because it's. I think you have. I don't know if is it general admission or do you actually have seats? I don't even know that. So it's just a practice. There's plenty of seats available, so you don't need to get there super early. You need to get through security, so you want to kind of be there on time. But I think you'll be fine. And then just any of the things that you would normally do around Green Bay. I put out that huge training camp video if you want to view that. But yeah, nothing too crazy that I could think of, Douglas. I'm intrigued to see the new defensive tackle rotation. I mean, it certainly feels like it's going to be Clark and Wyatt starting with Wooden and Brooks being the top two as your next guys in. We'll see if Brinson can get involved there as well. But it seems, already kind of set, to be honest. Only 100 likes so far. Come on, guys. All right, get those likes in, everyone. Tulio's getting upset. Are they ever going to wear the gold jerseys? I don't know. I'd be fine if they didn't, quite frankly. But again, I don't really care for those extra, kind of bonus jerseys, what they want to do. You want to go gold, color rush, throwback. You do your thing. Go have fun. Love does have a lot to prove this season. I fully expect him to turn it up this year. Just hope he stays healthy. Totally fair. And I hope he stays healthy as well, J. Cole. Sucks to see both Colin and John Williams will be out of the lineup a while. Like you always say, Andy, nothing worse than these young rookies missing time. Good to see Micah Robinson back on the field. Yeah, you always want those young players getting off to a strong start. We continue to live rent-free in Minnesotans' heads. I see. Always and forever. We are not going to trade for Trey Hendrickson. I will gladly eat my words if they end up trading for him. I would be pretty stunned if that ended up happening. But man, how fun would that freaking be? All right, so what does a rookie moment for Golden look like? So in mini camp, there was a play where, again, this is to the naked eye. I don't know the play call. I'm just going by, inference and putting things together, right? It certainly looked like he lined up on the wrong side of the field. So they got him lined up on the right side of the field. Then he went in motion, but it was supposed to be a long motion and he went in a short motion. And then they had to wait for him to do the long motion to the other side. And then once the play actually ran, it looked like after the play, they were coaching him that he ran the wrong route. Don't know for sure. I could be wrong. Don't quote me on it 1,000,000%. Just my inference from the play. And again, I also want to be very clear. Like these things happen for rookies all the time. This is not a, crap on Matthew Golden moment. I saw it with Tucker Kraft at the time. Like you have these moments happen. It looked like there was a couple times today. Now, one of the ones with Golden today, it looked like, I forget who the tight end was, but it looked like he went in motion and then the tight end kind of jumped. And then I don't know if he saw the tight end jump and then he kind of jumped. It was just a weird looking play. Don't know if that one was on Golden at all. Yeah, there was just a little bit disjointed there. And then there was another one again where it kind of looked like he was unsure of the motion that he was supposed to go in. So again, just knowing the nuances of the playbook, when you're supposed to go in motion, where you're lined up, those are very common, normal things for rookies and things that he's just going to have to get down if he wants to see obviously consistent playing time. And I have no doubt that he will. I'm sure he's going to be, very in tune with that moving forward. Love proved that even when hurt all year and the receivers not giving much help, he can still lead this team to the playoffs. Last year was the floor. I think that's probably true, William. Tom Silverstein did say opportunities for a transaction, which I do think is the case through the course of the year. I do think there's opportunities for them to go out and add a piece. My guess is that might be a little bit more towards like trade deadline time, depending on where they're at, but not impossible. I just don't expect it to be Trey Hendrickson. Omer, I think Bo Melton has a good chance to make the cornerback room as any of those low draft picks in UDFAs. wide receiver to corner may be the easiest transition. I did it in high school. Omer, if you did it, then I'm sure we got this covered. Much tougher at the NFL level. Yes, very much so. Jersey is fire. Peter Bukowski seems to think Trey might be a legit move. All right. Sign me up. Sign me up. Yes, you absolutely do Elton for Hendrickson. There's no way Cincinnati says yes to Elton for Hendrickson. But if Cincy wanted to do that, since he's done dumber things in their career, I would absolutely take that trade. But I think Hendrickson definitely has more value than Elton does at this point. F in fireplaces, always. What a steal of a deal with Green Bay got with Zach Tom. That contract going to look sweet 2 years from now, and it's for 5 more. Yeah, it looks phenomenal. Will Oladapo push Williams for playing time? I don't think so. We did see Oladapo a little bit lined up in the slot with the 2s today, which was fun to see. That is a very big slot, but listen, I really like Ketan Oladapo. I think he's a really good player, but no, I don't think he's going to push Evan Williams. I think Evan Williams has probably got that position a little bit on lockdown, but I'll just say I think Green Bay is very lucky to have Ketan Oladapo as a backup safety. I think he can be a starter if need be. All right, guys, there's a ton of questions left. I got to get out of here pretty quick here. I'm in my 30s and I've had 3 quarterbacks and always in contention. That's not bad considering half the league has never been to the Super Bowl. Good way to look at it. Bo look good at cornerback from what we saw. I think I would be interested in a Shamar Stewart trade. I don't think that ends up happening, but it would definitely be interesting. Let's see. There was talk about Savion Williams. What did he do other than the one circus catch discussed? Yeah, I didn't know about that, but I'll definitely have to go and research that a little bit more, see if something's out there for that. But I did not see that. I did not see really anything else from Savion Williams on the day. Oh, inside your wall bees. That is not ideal. I'd consider giving Jenkins more cash. I think here's the thing, Omer. It's not about whether or not he should get more cash or not. It's about the fact that he's got 2 years left on his deal, and you do not want to set that precedent, especially with the way that Packers set up their contracts. That's a really bad precedent to set for the remainder of guys that have 2 years left on your deal. Because if you do it for Elton, then everybody else is, with 2 years left is like, oh, actually, I want to do this as well. And now I'm going to hold out to get something thrown my way. And it's not something that you really want to do. So, and Elton doesn't really have a ton of legs to stand on either. So it doesn't really even have much to do with throwing more money at him. Green Bay probably wouldn't even mind really doing that, save for, again, the fact that they really just don't want to set that precedent. Unacceptable, Captain. We're on Lombardi time here. Need to be here 15 minutes early. Wasn't Greg Joseph either. There was another kicker. Let me see if I can find it really quick. All right. Archives, July 1st, 2024. James Turner. James Turner was the kicker that was tweeted about on the very first day. The initial kicking group last year in training camp was Greg Joseph, Anders Carlson, and James Turner. So yeah, that's how much time can fly. I don't think so. I don't think that he would. No. Savion made a nice one-handed snag. It was reported by some. That's fantastic. Love to see that. Yeah, I don't know that Will Shepherd joining really changes my outlook on the wide receiver room one way or the other, but another player who will try to make a run at a practice squad spot. Sorrell and Colby Wooden made a combined pressure on Malik Willis for a would-be sort of quote-unquote sack. It was really a 4-man effort. All 4 guys kind of got through and collapsed the pocket, but Wooden and Sorrell were the 2 that stood out on that play. Again, don't read anything into it because it's no pads, offensive line and defensive line play. Nothing, again, on LVN. Again, don't read anything to LVN play on this one. No, you don't want, he's a wide receiver. He's going to be a good wide receiver too, I think. You want to see if you can get the most out of him at wide receiver. So no tight end thought with Savion Williams. Eli and Bill Huber saw the one-handed. I don't think Eli was at practice, but Bill Huber saw the one-handed catch. I guess no video or anything. All right. Yeah, him and Wooden kind of combined on that one. No best shape of your life. I thought Romeo looked like he was in great shape. Edgerrin, of course, we've talked about already. But yeah, I think a couple of those, but everyone looked like they were in great shape. Don't think that's going to be the case with Elton. I think he'll be out there at some point, and I think he's going to be the starting center this year. I don't know. I'll keep an eye out for that, Jake, on Sean Ryan and see if he looks a little bit more svelte this season. I'll keep an eye on it. Yeah, Matt LaFleur did talk very highly. He's talked that highly of Tucker in the past, though, of working his butt off. And that is not the first time that quote has been attributed to Tucker Kraft from Matt LaFleur. Next year, the Jenkins thing gets more interesting for sure. Andy, can you stop bringing up Tucker in a positive light? He's my tight end sleeper in fantasy, and it'd be nice if he could stay as a sleeper. I'll see what I can do. Is there a chance Bullard ends up the odd man out if he proves to not be the answer in the slot, but also doesn't surpass Williams? What would his role be? I think he's going to very much have a role in the slot in those base downs. I think he'll be the top backup at safety as well. I think there are certain formations and or personnel groupings where you could also see him at safety. I would actually not be stunned in a true 4-3 if Bullard was the safety in a true 4-3. Just because I think he's better at coming down and playing the box. If you're in a 4-3, it's probably more of a run sort of situation. So I would not be stunned by that either, but I'm still very, very high on Javon Bullard. And I do think he's going to have, multiple hats that he wears within this defense. Want to see Melton taking real snaps at corner in preseason. Could have a Sam Shields situation on the rise. Let's not go too far, too fast, but it will be fun to see him play corner in preseason. I do actually believe, Danielle, that Quay's issue is cleanup related, but Goody said he'd be back in a week. So, in a week from now, if he's back out there practicing, awesome. And it's much ado about nothing. If this thing lingers for 2 or 3 weeks, then maybe it's actually a contract situation. But I kind of believe Goody on that one. Without pads, are there specific position groups that you can learn more from than others? It just, the trenches are meaningless with no pads on. So I think the other ones are better, but even that, you have to be careful. You get a much better indication from everything once the pads are on, but offensive line and defensive line play is really, really fake with no pads. When Quay and Cooper play together, they are a dynamic duo. That's the hope for this upcoming season. Don't have any upcoming Wall episodes planned, but my hope is that Wall will be on every week throughout the course of the season. Again, we'll try to get him on before the start of the season at least one time as well. LVN plus 10 sacks this year. Love that, Ninos. I would gladly take that. No injury issues today. Nobody dropped out with an injury that I saw. Again, the players that were not practicing were Quay Walker, Christian Watson, Colin Oliver, Amar Johnson, John Williams, and Elgton Jenkins. Hello to you as well, Aaron. Is there a small possibility that either Romeo or Christian gets a small extension past 2025? I don't think so. I think you have to see what Christian comes back playing like. I would say there's a better chance for Christian. I don't think so with Romeo. LVN isn't a bust. Take that to the bank. The guy's an animal. Watch his tape. He just needs more reps. We'll see. William. I hope you're right. Pads should come on Sunday. I believe the first 3 days are non-padded, which would be today, tomorrow, and Friday. No practice Saturday, and then pads coming on Sunday. Love MVP season loading. Love that, Logan. Our history of drafting O-line in the first and second round is not great. Yeah, we'll see. Hopefully, Jordan Morgan and Anthony Belton can be the trend breakers there. I mean, Brian Bulaga had a pretty nice career as a first rounder. So I get there's some, Derek Sherrod's that was more injury related than anything. Jason Spriggs certainly was not great. Josh Myers was not great. So there's definitely some in there, but there's also a Brian Bulaga in there as well. Do not think, I still believe that Elton's going to be the starting center here. So until I see differently, I am continuing with that belief. All right. I'd like to see Goot trade one of these guys, likely not going to get extended. I'm not looking for trades. I want all the depth. This is a team that should be competing at the highest of levels. I don't need a 7th round pick. I want these guys out there playing. The exception might be Enigbare. I don't want Dobbs, Watson, Walker, any of those guys to go anywhere. Period. End of story. I want all the depth and talent on this team that I can get. Awesome. Yeah, I think it's a lot of fun for people. So, if you have the chance to get out there, definitely worth it. He had a good day. He missed one throw slightly wide to Tucker Kraft. Everything else he was super accurate with. Had a couple of really nice red zone touchdowns, including one to Jacobs, the Texas route to Chris Brooks, the touchdown to Romeo Dobbs, the gorgeous throw to Josh Jacobs that Jacobs just couldn't come down with. But I thought overall, a really nice day outside of the one throw that Xavier McKinney picked off. And again, I didn't have a great view as to whether that was a bad decision, bad throw, or just McKinney made a great play. They did practice outside today. Andy, do you see Elgton Jenkins extension come up soon or any Packers players getting it done? I don't see any extensions coming up. I think the one was Tom, and I think now they probably wait moving forward. The one that maybe actually could be a little bit more interesting. Let me just look this up really quick here before I say something I don't mean. The one they could potentially look at would be Daniel Whalen. He's a restricted free agent next year. So they don't need to rush this at all. They can probably just let it play out and they hold his rights. But it is a little bit trickier than that because you'd have to do like a right of first refusal, which is probably like a $3 million deal. Not sure they want to give him that much. He would probably just accept it right away. So there could be some opportunity maybe to work something out with Whalen. But outside of that, I really don't see one coming. But we'll see. We'll see. Simmons had a couple nice plays for sure. I thought he had a really nice day today. No fat guy in the D line. No. Stackhouse is like 320 something, but not in the main rotation. I will not be at the Indy joint practice. I will also miss one other practice next Friday. That was the one that Green Bay added. They were supposed to not have practice Wednesday or Friday next week, only practice on Thursday. Now they don't practice Thursday, but practice Wednesday and Friday. So I will be out of town Friday next week. So I will miss Friday's practice. That will be the only home practice that I miss. And then I will miss the one in Indy as well. I have not heard about Nasir Stackhouse randomly falling asleep, but that sounds like a funny story, I guess. You are welcome, Logan. Oh, he really has narcolepsy? I did not realize that. That's wild. I've watched all your videos first time live. Thanks for your hard work. Keep it up. Well, thanks for being here, Benjamin. Appreciate you. Andy, was there an Amber Alert that went off today in that Matt LaFleur press conference? It was an alert. It was some sort of like, I don't know, lockdown situation that was cleared. So it was weird that they didn't alert when there was a lockdown, but they alerted when the lockdown was cleared. And it was also in like ledge view, so nowhere near exactly where we were either. But yes, however, I will say, had my phone on me, I had my phone silent. So while everyone else's phones were going off, I had mine completely on silent. And I will gladly tell you that my phone did not go off in the press conference. No plays from Kalen. I can't remember anything noteworthy from Catan as well. I expect that Jordan Morgan's going to be a good, sound offensive lineman when he plays, whether it's in a rotation, whether he wins the starting job, whether it's due to injury. I expect him to go in and play some really solid football, similar to what we saw from like a Sean Ryan last year, where it's good, solid, not great. You're not going to see Pro Bowl level play, but you see a real solid overall starter when he's in there. 2 more days without pads, then we get to access these lines and pass rushers. Absolutely. Again, nothing noteworthy from Cooper, but he looks fast as you would expect. Cox Jr., 11 sack season incoming. All right, sign me up. Can we get a trick play this season where JJ throws a touchdown pass to Jordan Love, please? I'm not sure of the trick plays. I necessarily need to see that, but hey, if they pull it off, sure, go for it. Talked about that. If you're Goot, you call and offer Cincinnati what pick and what money to sign him. Yeah, I mean, he's going to want basically the TJ Watt deal, which I think is really difficult. And he's older, and you probably have to give up a 2nd round pick, would be my guess. I probably just don't do that if I'm Green Bay. Now, if it's something creative, like if you could just give like LVN and like a 6th or LVN and like a 5th or something for Hendrickson, and they would take that, I would really have to consider it sincerely. But that there's either way, I think it's going to be a steep price, more contractually than the draft pick. I'm not as concerned about the draft capital. The contract is going to be exorbitant. So I just really don't expect that to get done. But hey, if they can find a way to make it work, I would be all for it. I love the idea. The idea of Hendrickson as a Packer is really enticing. I get it. And, you know, F them picks and F the future. I get, you know, you only live once, do it in 2025. But I do think there would be some ramifications if you gave up a premium pick and or player and a big, you know, big, massive TJ Watt-esque contract. I do think there would be some ramifications for that. So better win a Super Bowl if you do it. That's all I'll say. Let's see. Happy Wednesday to you as well, HK. Thanks for being here. All right, I'm going to try to get through the rest, as many as I can here. We'll see if Savion is an option on kicks. I think that could be a option down the road. Richard, you enjoy your day as well. Let's see. I'm hoping all the receivers step up fishy things. I really, really am. I'm hoping that those guys step up in a significant way. Awesome show as always, Andy. So excited to see all your great guests and content all season long. Thanks for all you do. Much appreciated. Omer, appreciate you as well. Does the defensive playbook shrink a bunch if Walker or Cooper out? No, I don't think so. I don't think it changes much, if at all. Besides football being back, anything you saw that left you intrigued and or excited? I'll have to think on that a little bit, Craig. I don't think necessarily off the top of my head, but I thought it was a good, clean day of practice. Just left me excited overall for what this team can be in 2025. Bakhtiari was like a fourth. Yeah, fourth, I believe. And Menace is backing me up there. Let's see. Beast Bumblebee, thank you for the super chat. Heard that Goody delayed the press conference 20 minutes just for you. He did not do that. I did get out of my radio show early so that I could go attend the press conference. So appreciate Mitch Thunder Nellis filling in for me on that last segment today. Do I think Bo Melton can morph into the second coming of Sam Shields? Let's again take it one step at a time, Bob. Let's see if he can just make the team as a corner first and see how he looks there. Anything above and beyond that would be gravy at that point. Think we sign Quay Walker or Sean Ryan, depending on what Morgan can play well, but one of the two is definitely gone by next year. Maybe both if Cadillac shows promise. Yeah, I think they let that play out. I don't think it's impossible that one of those guys could be back, but I'm definitely with you in that. I'd be pretty stunned if both of them were back. Let's see. Ryan, much better chance to be re-signed cheaper. I think 20 million plus for Walker. Yeah, you're probably right. Who can be the Eric Wilson this preseason training camp? I'm assuming you just mean a good, solid linebacker who can play teams. If so, Isaiah Simmons, I think, would be that. Christian Welch will have a chance as well. Holden had a nice touchdown today, but as mentioned, a couple of rookie moments. How many years left on Kraft and Musgrave before we have to pay them? They have this year and next year is what we're looking at for Tucker Kraft and Luke Musgrave. So Kraft will make 1.2 mil this year. He'll get that salary bump next year for playing time incentives. And then he'll be a unrestricted free agent in 2027 if they don't get a deal done. He will be a prime contender for a deal similar to Zach Tom at this point next year. No updates on Kalen King today. It was evident that today the Packers intend on using Kraft as much as possible. The season holds lots of attention today. Yeah, he definitely had his share of targets go his way as well. All right, I think I got through pretty much everything. Thank you guys so much for being here. I will be here after every training camp practice outside of next Friday. It'll be somewhere between 1 p.m. and 2 p.m. start time every day. So if I can get here and get ready to go by 1 p.m., I'm going to try to get on by 1 as these practices get longer. It could be 1:30 or 2. So just kind of keep an eye on the time every day. I'll tweet it out every day as well once practice is done. My assumption is tomorrow should be pretty much close to 1 p.m. as well, but either 1:30 or 2, just kind of keep an eye out for it. But we'll be doing these live episodes after practice every single day. And then we'll be doing a deeper dive in practice for tomorrow morning's episode. So keep an eye out for that as well. Sign up for those memberships. You get early access to stuff. Going to be putting up a bonus Ross episode for members at some point, either today or tomorrow. So lots to look forward to. Again, thank you so much for being here. Appreciate you guys a ton. We'll talk very, very soon. And Jay, I hope you enjoyed day 1 of camp, and now we get set for day 2 tomorrow. But until next time, and as always, go Pack-O.